It was late afternoon when the woman entered the hotel. There was no hurry in her steps, no insecurity, no arrogance. She wore simple clothes, well kept, but far too ordinary for a place where expensive suits and leather suitcases passed by every day. The lobby was large, cold, luxurious. Employees moved around, but no one seemed to see her. She stopped in front of the reception desk. She waited. The receptionist typed on the computer, looked to the side, called the next guest who had arrived after her. She didn't complain. She took a step back. She waited longer. Minutes passed. Conversations happened. Check-ins began and ended. She was still there, invisible. When they finally tried to help her, it wasn't with kindness. "Do you have a reservation?" The question wasn't curious, it was suspicious. She calmly said yes, gave her name. The clerk frowned, typed, stopped. "I can't find it." She repeated her name, more slowly. Another employee approached, looked at her clothes, looked at the clock. Perhaps there was a mistake. A mistake. That word hurts when you know you didn't make one. She politely asked them to check again. The atmosphere changed. It was no longer customer service. It was tolerance. A manager appeared. He didn't ask what had happened. He asked why she was still there. This hotel usually receives a specific kind of guest. She understood. Everyone understood. Other guests watched, some in silence, others with judgment in their eyes. She took a deep breath. She said only, "I would just like to check in." The manager suggested, in a tone far too polite to be sincere, perhaps another hotel would be more suitable. That wasn't a suggestion, it was an expulsion. And even so, she didn't lose her temper. As the situation escalated, something stood out. She was observing everything. Not just the people, but the processes, the mistakes, the failures, the system, the flow, the lack of preparation. She didn't seem offended. She seemed to be analyzing. A younger employee noticed. It unsettled him. Why is she so calm? Before the manager could end the situation, she made an unexpected request. "May I speak with the person responsible for the hotel?" Quiet laughter followed. The manager replied, "I am the person responsible." She nodded and said something that changed the room. "Then perhaps the problem is bigger than I imagined." She stepped away from the desk, sat down on one of the lobby chairs. She took out her phone, made a short call. A few minutes later, a man in a suit hurried into the hotel. He wasn't a guest, he was management. He greeted the staff, stopped when he saw her, straightened his posture. "Good afternoon, ma'am." Silence fell. The manager tried to explain. He was interrupted. "She is not a guest. She is the owner." The ground disappeared beneath the feet of those who laughed, those who ignored her, those who judged her. She stood up. Now everyone was watching. She didn't shout. She didn't humiliate. She didn't seek revenge. She asked, "Is this the standard treatment?" No one answered. Then this is not an isolated mistake. Employees were removed, processes were reviewed, training was required. But the greatest punishment wasn't administrative, it was moral. They didn't fail because they didn't know the rules. They failed because they didn't recognize humanity. Before leaving the lobby, she said something that stayed with everyone. "You didn't treat me badly because I was poor.
You treated me badly because you thought I was. And that is the great truth. Injustice rarely comes from explicit hatred. It comes from a silent sense of superiority. Treating someone well only after knowing who they are is not respect. It is interest. The true measure of character doesn't appear when we know someone's status, but when we don't.